In the quiet city of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, on October 9, 2018, the world kept turning as it always does. People left work, drove home, and prepared for their evening. For 27-year-old Rachel Monroe, it was supposed to be just another Tuesday, but it wasn't. At 6:12 p.m., Rachel left her office building. Security cameras captured her walking toward the employee parking lot. It was the last time she was ever seen on her own 2 feet. She never made it to her car. A little over 3 hours later, at 9:40 p.m., friends and family tried to call her. Their calls went straight to voicemail. The alarm was raised that very night. By the next morning, a full-scale search was underway. Local police officers, concerned volunteers, and highly trained tracking dogs fanned out across the area. They combed through the dense woods that bordered the parking lot, their flashlights cutting through the early morning gloom. They scoured nearby roads, looking for any sign, any clue, anything out of the ordinary. They meticulously reviewed hours of security camera footage from surrounding businesses, but the search yielded nothing. There were no reported screams, no signs of a struggle, no broken branches or disturbed ground to suggest violence. It was as if Rachel Monroe had simply vanished into thin air. After 36 hours of intensive searching, investigators were at a standstill. They had found absolutely no evidence of a crime. No witnesses had seen anything suspicious. No one had come forward with a tip. Rachel was a responsible adult with no known enemies and no history of putting herself in dangerous situations. So, the investigators had to make a call. Based on the facts they had, or rather, the facts they didn't have, they decided there was no indication of an abduction. At 4:18 p.m. on October 11th, less than 2 days after she disappeared, the active search for Rachel Monroe was officially stopped. Her case was downgraded. The file was stamped with 5 simple words: no further action required. The search teams went home. The volunteers dispersed. The case was effectively closed. But what no one knew, what no one could have possibly imagined, was that Rachel Monroe was still alive. She hadn't been abducted. She hadn't run away. She was right there, less than 600 meters from the very parking lot where she was last seen. In the growing darkness of that Tuesday evening, she had fallen down a steep, hidden embankment. The fall didn't kill her, but it left her severely injured and disoriented. She was trapped, unable to climb back up the treacherous slope. She was alive, and she was waiting for help. When she fell, Rachel's phone lost its signal. The connection was gone, but it wasn't completely dead. 4 hours after the official search had been called off, her phone fought to reconnect. It sent out brief, desperate pings, searching for a cell tower, a whisper of a signal. These pings were too weak, too sporadic, to trigger a location alert with the network provider. They weren't strong enough to make anyone think twice. They weren't enough to reopen the search. So, while a piece of technology desperately tried to signal for help, the human search had already been abandoned. For too long, cold nights and eerie silence fell over the area. There were no more searchlights sweeping through the trees, no more tracking dogs sniffing the ground, no more voices calling out her name, echoing through the woods. The embankment where she lay injured had been checked once, briefly, and then marked as cleared. No one went back. The search had moved on, and then it had stopped altogether. For Rachel, the silence must have been deafening. The hope she might have felt hearing the initial search parties must have faded into a terrifying quiet. 6 days after she disappeared, a utility worker was making a routine inspection of drainage pipes near the office park. It was there, in an area so close to the original search zone, that he made a devastating discovery. It was Rachel Monroe. She was less than a 10-minute walk from where the police had set up their command post. The medical examiner was called to the scene, and their findings would cast a long, dark shadow over the entire case. Rachel had survived the fall. She had been alive for at least 2 full days after the search was officially terminated. She hadn't died from her injuries right away. She died from exposure to the elements and from the untreated injuries she sustained in the fall. She had waited for help that had been just a few hundred meters away, but it never came back. In the aftermath, an internal review was conducted by the police department. They looked at every decision, every action taken during those critical 36 hours. The final report concluded that no procedures were violated. The officers had followed protocol to the letter. Based on the information they had at the time, no evidence of foul play. No witnesses. The decision to stop the active search was deemed justified. No one was disciplined. No changes in policy were recommended. It was a tragedy, but not, in their view, a mistake. But buried deep within the pages of that final, official report, there was one sentence, a single line that tells a story all on its own. It read, "Victim likely alive after termination of active search." There was no follow-up to this statement, no further comment or explanation. It was just a fact, recorded and filed away. A chilling acknowledgement of a truth that was too late to change anything. This detail, this horrifying detail, never made headlines. It remained hidden in the paperwork of a closed case. The real horror of Rachel Monroe's story isn't about a monster or a complex mystery. The danger wasn't a sudden, violent act. It was a slow, creeping reality. The mistake wasn't some grand conspiracy. It was an ordinary, procedural decision made by people doing their jobs. There was no villain to hunt down, no complex puzzle to solve. There was just a choice, made a little too early, based on incomplete information. When the search for Rachel Monroe was closed, she wasn't missing in the way we usually think. She wasn't gone. She was waiting, and the very moment that help stopped looking for her was the moment she truly ran out of time. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more content that looks beyond the headlines. Stay safe.